What's up, good people? Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Hope everybody's having a great day. We are 24 hours exactly away from free agent frenzy, legal tampering, so to speak, where teams can start talking to agents officially about getting contracts. They can't finalize the contracts until Wednesday, but they can start talking. Now, the Cowboys having a late start on getting things together. They restructured Zach Martin's deal to get them some cap relief and are now under the cap by $1.8 million. Last night, they basically announced that Michael Gallup has permission to talk to other teams to seek a trade, but you can forget about anybody trading for Michael Gallup. Nobody's going to take on that contract. They would rather the Cowboys eat that contract, and if we're interested in him, and there will be an interest in the market for him because there's not a lot of wide receivers that are out there right now this year in free agency. In fact, you can look at this and say that the market is pretty bare when it comes to free agent wide receivers, and I dare say quarterbacks even. So the Cowboys will be eating some of that money. Now, here's where I think the Cowboys have a flawed philosophy. One, it seems like they constantly re-sign guys that have had injuries or coming off of an injury because they feel like they're going to get a deal. There's a problem with that because when you've made these moves, they haven't worked out. And we can look back at several different contracts because as we focus in, now here's the thing, I know people don't like Dak Prescott out there. A lot of people say he's a bum and all that, but a guy that's been an MVP conversation two of the last 3 years, he's done something right, clearly. And I dare say of recent history, the biggest contracts that the Cowboys have been signing, he's the only one that ends up being that you're at a point of making a second mega contract. Because as much as Dak Prescott contract cost us, a lot of these other contracts, even though we get rid of them, still cost us. For example, Zeke Elliott. I don't know if people realize it. When we cut him last year and made him a post-June 1st cut, Zeke Elliott is still costing us $6 million this year on our cap. Yeah, last year we were still paying for Lyle Collins on the cap. Yeah, and we'll take part of the dead hit this year for Michael Gallup and then another $8 million cap hit next year for Michael Gallup. So when you start looking at this, and this is where it's kind of crazy because we've signed contracts with guys, and within like 2 years, we realize we screwed the pooch. Jalen Smith, right? We signed a 5-year, $64 million contract with him. $35 million guaranteed. $35 million guaranteed. Yeah, how'd that one work out for us? At least with Michael Gallup, they're going to cut him before the guaranteed time of the contract is, because we ended up keeping Jalen Smith because we all were wondering, Cowboys, are they going to cut him? Are they going to cut him? And they let the deadline pass, in which case they guaranteed part of that salary, in which case they took a big dead hit. Think about Zeke Elliott. On his 4th year in the NFL, 4th year for a running back, you signed a 6-year, $90 million deal to a running back on his 4th year. Dude, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Lyle Collins, 5 years, $50 million. Michael Gallup, of course, 2 years ago, $58 million over 5 years. Now, here's the problem. that compounds it. It's bad enough that you made a bad deal. But see, here's the other problem of the equation. Tyron Smith's contract is one of the ones that you look at and say the Cowboys actually got value for. Although, believe it or not, we're going to be eating $6 million of dead money this year because of the restructures that we've done later on. When you had a voidable year, basically you could put money off for one of those years to restructure to get cash now. But at some point, that money doesn't go away. At some point, you have to pay that money back. So you got $6 million this year for Zeke. You got $6 million this year for Tyron Smith. You got $2 million for Dorrance Armstrong. You follow where I'm going with this? Do you understand what I'm saying? That when you restructure, and you've restructured Dak where you put $36 million into next year's dead money. See, the Cowboys have actually a ticking time bomb that's going to happen if they don't do Dak Prescott's contract. You can only live for so long by restructuring contracts. Because, see, here's the thing. They did Michael Gallup's contract, which was way too much for a guy who just tore his ACL. But last year's number was $13 million. They restructured that deal. They took $7 million of cap relief and kicked the money back down later. So now, last year's cap number was $6 million. That $7 million has to be made up later. And herein lies the problem of, at some point, you have to pay the bills. Now, you can look around. Cowboys aren't the only ones that are doing this. The Cleveland Browns, who currently have a $62 million cap hit for Deshaun Watson, and the reason it's $62 million is not because his salary is $62 million a year. It's because they've restructured his contract and kicked the money down the road. And with $230 million that was fully guaranteed, you got to pay that at some point. Now, as much as we talk about how bad Dak Prescott's contract situation is, you don't have $62 million that the Cleveland Browns have, and you don't have $58 million that Pat Mahomes' contract is either. At least the Cowboys are in a better situation than, say, the Buffalo Bills, who had Von Miller's, Stephon Diggs's, and Josh Allen's, that they had to literally gut the roster, and you have to say that their Super Bowl window is over and they have to start all over. At least the Cowboys have room where they can get some other money if they want, and they can redo Dak Prescott's contract that was the pooch screw. And I say all this because tomorrow begins the free agency window. And the question is are we going to try and get ourselves fiscally completely in order, or are we going to try and win a Super Bowl? Because kicking money down the road shouldn't be just normal business operations. You shouldn't look at this every year and say, let's go ahead and restructure, 4 or 5 guys, so we can just pay the regular bills. It should be, we have a window open right now that maybe this year is a good year to go ahead and say, let's get some extra cash to bring in a couple of guys. But the Cowboys have forever made restructuring deals just part of their everyday business. And this has always precluded them because every year, because they make these bad contracts, there's no way in the world that you should have ever come up with a $90 million contract for Zeke. There was no way in the world that you should have come up with the contract you did for Jalen Smith after one good year, knowing that he had dropped foot. There are so many bad contracts that the Cowboys have made that's part of the reason why it's precluded them from winning. There you have it.